With us today, we're here to support and to celebrate the success of one of our own, homeschooled teen, Christopher Paolini, who is the author of Eragon. Eragon is currently #1 on the bestseller list, beating out the Harry Potter books. And many of you have seen Christopher on the David Letterman show and the Jay Leno show. And Christopher, I'm going to give a quick bio of you, and if I get any facts incorrect, please feel free to chime in and give us the true scoop.
Okay.
So I understand that you started writing Eragon when you were about 15, that it took you a year for the first draft, and that you then showed that draft to your mother, showed it to your father, and said, "Boy, this is pretty awesome. We might want to think about self-publishing this."
Mm-hmm.
And that you then went out on the road with your father, dressed in Renaissance clothing, speaking at different schools around the country, and that an author from Knopf Publishing read a copy of Eragon, was so impressed that he contacted his editor there at Knopf and said, "Boy, you got to read this book," and that you then received a 3-book advance from Knopf, went out on book tours, promoted the book, got it up to #1 on the bestseller list, and have now sold the movie rights to Eragon.
Correct. Actually, interestingly enough, the author, Carl Hyacin, who discovered Eragon here in Montana, it actually wasn't him. It wasn't him specifically, or he specifically, that discovered the book. It was his 12-year-old stepson, Ryan, who got a copy of Eragon in a local bookstore and read it and loved it so much that his dad ended up recommending it to his editor. So it's, readers really can change the world.
That's wonderful. Christopher, we're going to go into, does anyone have any quick questions before we go into lecture mode? Everybody okay?
I have a question.
Okay. Okay. I heard one person say you have a quick question. Go ahead and speak loudly.
Yeah.
Now, there we go. Thank you for muting out that noise. Perfect.
How would I be able to get you to sign my copy of Eragon? Because it was one of the best books I've ever read.
That's an excellent question.
It's an excellent question. Well, the best way to do it would be to send the book directly to Knopf, Random House, and explain that you would like the book signed to me, and then they will forward the book to wherever I happen to be, probably my home, and I'll be more than happy to sign it for you, and then it'll get shipped back to you.
Excuse me.
Sure.
What inspired you to write the book Eragon?
Oh boy, big question.
I was going to ask him that.
Well, I wanted to write the sort of story that I would enjoy reading myself. This is, I love reading, as I'm sure many of you do as well. And more specifically, I love reading fantasy in all its different permutations, everything from folklore to myths and legends and, Anne McCaffrey, the Mossflower books, David Eddings' Magician by Raymond E. Feist, and many, many others. So Eragon, for me, was a chance to write the sort of story that I loved reading and try to make it even better, if that was possible.
Well, thank you very much.
I hear someone is typing on the background. If you would be so kind to push the mute button on your phone or do *6, that'll help us with that. Oh, you already did so. Thank you.
I'm sorry. How do you feel about comparisons that are drawn with the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
That's a bunch
was that your inspiration at all, or?
Well, I was certainly inspired by Tolkien, although I think I was more inspired by the book Magician by Raymond E. Feist. I find comparisons with Tolkien very flattering.
I would think.
To be in his league is really an extraordinary thing, especially at my age. So, I wanted to play in the sort of world that Tolkien and other fantasy writers wrote about, and which existed before Tolkien as well. So, I'm very flattered by those comparisons.
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
Are you Christian or Catholic?
Or LDS?
Well, my mommy always told me to never talk about religion and politics. And you know what? I always do what my mommy tells me to.
Good
Smart
answer.
boy, smart boy.
Christopher, did you ever in your wildest dreams believe that you would one day, are you 20 years old now?
Yes.
Did you ever think that by 20 years old you would have a book on the bestseller list and that's going to be made into a movie?
Never. Absolutely never. When I was quite a bit younger, I would spend all my time, well, all the time I was supposed to be working on math and stuff like that. I'd spend it daydreaming about the things that I would rather be doing instead.
Hold on for a minute.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
The various adventures I wanted to be doing. And I always thought that when I grew up and when I reached the ripe old age of 20, that I'd be off having adventures around the world, fighting monsters with swords and rescuing beautiful princesses and all of that. And the amazing thing is that by writing my book, I've actually ended up having a fair number of adventures through that.
That's wonderful. So many times, Christopher, the media will talk about someone like you, and they'll call you an overnight success. But really, you've been working on this rather diligently since you were 15. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a quarter of my entire life.
Yeah, really, in comparison. So you would not call yourself an overnight success?
No, even though Aragon has certainly become a success, and I achieved that success at a younger age than many authors, I've been working at this as long as many authors do before they reach success. I spent a year for the first draft of Aragon, a second year for the second draft, a third year to revise and edit the book and draw the original cover and the map for the book, a fourth year to market the book around the country with a self-published version of the book, a fifth year, which was last year, to again edit the book with Random House and then to market the book, that version of the book. And now we're into the sixth year now.
Thanks
and
to
here I am
homeschooling, you had that time
two.
available to you. Otherwise, you never would have been able to dedicate that time or even have it available.
Excuse me, say that again?
I said, thankfully that you were homeschooled. Otherwise, you never would have had that time available to you to do that work and pursue that passion.
Yeah, I credit two things with two main things for the success. What I was able to do. The first, of course, is my parents, and the second is the fact that I was homeschooled. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily a better education in being homeschooled as opposed to the public schools. But one direct benefit, at least for me, was the fact that I did have a huge amount of free time once I graduated. And if I'd been in regular high school, of course, I would have had most of my time would have been occupied with, other activities. Now, you can't write a book unless you have the time to write a book.
I have a real quick question.
Sure.
Me and my friend are writing a book together. We've been writing a book, and I wanted to know if you had any tips on
Ooh.
That's an excellent question.
What kind of a book is it?
Well, mine is, my friend's is about what period? The Cretaceous period, and mine is more of like a fantasy animal kind of thing, like Redwall.
Okay. Well, writing advice is hard to give, of course, because it's a very personal exercise. But I would say that three things are very important.
Okay.
One, you have to write about what you love the most, about what touches you the most. Because writing a book is a very long and a very hard process. I don't mean to discourage anyone, but it's the honest truth. And by writing about what you love the most, it helps keep you inspired and consistent throughout your endeavor. The second piece of advice would be to learn everything you can about the English language. It's the tools of the trade. So, figuring out what gerunds are and dangling participles and all the little niggling aspects of grammar, that will save you a lot of pain in editing. And then, of course, the third thing is to find someone who can edit your work. You can only become a better writer by learning what you've done wrong. And a good editor And it doesn't even have to be someone formally trained in editing. It can be someone who reads a